This is PWF Empire Live.
It's the best thing going today.
The best insight and analysis on the hottest topics in the world of wrestling happens here. From storylines and news to rumors and reviews, we've got the action covered from bell to bell. Presented by PWFempire.com with your hosts,
Steven,
Evan Medina, and J-Dub.
do I have everybody's attention now?
The match starts now.
PWF Empire is live following WWE Night of Champions. We are here for the purpose of reviewing that show. I'd like to thank you guys for joining us tonight. Who are us, or we? Jay, Steven, and Evan here. And I understand that one of you guys, this is a very special day for you guys. It's somebody's birthday tonight, I hear.
Well, it's not mine, so that could only mean one other thing.
Evan,
Not me.
it's one of you guys. Do we have a mystery on our hands? Somebody a little shy they don't want to say?
No.
Huh.
I know when my birthday is, and it ain't today.
Is it your birthday, Jay?
No, it's not mine. It's one of yours.
Where is this going?
I don't know. Why would somebody lie about their birthday? That's weird. I don't know. But, you know, we got a show to discuss tonight. Thank you guys for joining us.
Wow, what an opener.
I don't understand that at all.
Thank you guys for joining us once again. Night of Champions here. So, yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this review of the show. The show kicked off with the Intercontinental Championship match. This was Ryback defending versus Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens walks away as the victor from this match in a very interesting way. He actually raked the eyes of Ryback when he was in position for the shell shock, and then he rolled Ryback up and rolled his way right to victory. So our new Intercontinental Champion is Kevin Owens.
Well, that's great and all, but why did they use the same finish that was going to go down in the main event? That's what I want to know.
For me, I personally thought this was a pretty good way to open up the night, I think. And honestly, I like the way that they had some storytelling within the match based around Ryback having an injured shoulder and everything. So I thought that was actually a good way to tell a story with that. And you know, Ryback had a couple of good moments within the match. It was awkward when he was like, referee, my shoulder or my elbow or whatever he said. And then Kevin Owens is just like, shut up right after that. So Owens was playing the heel role extremely well within this match as well. And, this was a good way to finish it for Owens, too. He didn't even have to hit the pop-up powerbomb, yet still gets the victory in a heelish manner. And that's a good way to continue the feud on going forward. And he wins the title, which is great. And his post-match interview was great, too. So this, to me, was probably the best way to kick off Night of Champions. A solid Intercontinental title match to get things going.
Yeah, I say his post-match interview, it was awesome. But I actually want to go to a clip now, because what was even more awesome than the post-match interview was a pre-match interview. This took place on the kickoff show for Night of Champions. I want to go to this because this is very, very important. So here you guys can check this out. This is Kevin Owens.
Guys like Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat, The Rock, Ultimate War. I mean, it goes on and on. Right? But see, tonight is not about them. Tonight is about the prize. And I've said it before, I am a prize fighter. Tonight the prize is the Intercontinental Championship. Now that title means more money and a better life for me and my family, which means I need it. And tonight, I'm gonna take it.
I friggin' love Kevin Owens so much, because one thing that's missing in WWE is purpose. Like, we have all of these titles floating around, and one thing that it is very difficult for me to understand sometimes is, why do these people even want these damn titles? Like, what does it mean to you as a person? And WWE's go-to thing is, okay, well, the way that we're going to say that this title means something to that person is tell everyone how so-and-so amount of Hall of Famers held this championship. And this interview took place right after WWE aired one of those packages where they're like, this person held the championship and that person held the championship. All of these awesome people truly throughout history held the Intercontinental Championship, but Kevin Owens was like, I don't really care about that. They can be awesome in their own right, but I'm going to tell you why this title means something to me, why I want to get into the ring, why I want to kick Ryback's ass, why I want to become the next Intercontinental Champion. And the fact that you have that guy out there speaking about that, adding importance to him holding the title, not who held it before him, thought that was oh so awesome. And then you actually get to the match. It was some really good action between these two guys, and it was this match. Of course, this isn't going to be the last time we see Kevin Owens and Ryback, but what was done here, it was booked in such a great way that they gave you enough to the point where you didn't feel incomplete after watching the match, while also building towards the future. And you can't really ask for much more than that in wrestling. An entertaining match in and of itself, and it also gives you something to look forward to in Ryback trying to avenge this loss.
I think, yeah, it was a great match, and it was the right guy went over, but I still kind of feel weird that it ended in the roll-up, given what happened later on in the night. I'm not sure why you needed the roll-up, because the rake to the eyes would have been enough to transition into the power bomb, and that could have taken it. So it just kind of, I don't know, something about the title changing hands on a redundant roll-up doesn't really sit right with me. But it was a great match, so I'm not going to complain too much.
Alrighty, next up, guys, we have Dolph Ziggler versus Rusev, who was accompanied to the ring by Summer Rae. It was Ziggler who won this match, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, because Summer Rae, she got involved in the match and she tried to throw a shoe at the referee. He ducks out of the way. It hits Rusev and he gets stunned by it. And then Dolph Ziggler hits him with a zigzag. And that's that match. I think the best part of the match for me was the part of the match that didn't include either of the competitors. It was between Summer Rae and the referee, how he was just so fucking dramatic when he tossed her from the ringside, and he did so in a way like she was tossed, she like flipped over the top rope and she's there like feigning an injury, and he did not give one iota of a fuck about her injury. He was like, okay, you know, whatever, you can deal with that shit backstage, get out of here. That was my favorite part of the match.
Was this really a referee? Because his reflexes were way too good to avoid that shoe. I mean, most referees get, hit barely and they're gone for 10 minutes. And this guy was like, whoa, Matrix. Like, man, what is...
Yeah,
they're evolving.
WWE gets their referees from the same place they get their tables. No durability whatsoever. But this one, I don't know. He was money.
Man. This was to last. This is a real referee, man. But, yeah, okay. In ring wise, this match had some good moments and a couple of botches in it too. I mean, it was just all right. And with the story going into it that really didn't have me caring much about it in the first place, it kept me from being able to even get into what was going on during the match anywhere near as much as I normally would be, given a good story. So I really couldn't get that into this, and the in-ring action wasn't all that bad, but I come away kind of just like, yeah, it was all right. I expected Ziggler to win, and he did, and that's really all I get out of it, I guess. Go ahead.
Here's the thing, Evan. It was a good story. Except
no one died, though. Where's the murder mystery?
But here's, I looked at this match, and the weird thing is, I've been on PWF Empire Live raving about this story because it's just so juicy, just goodness. So
yeah, but aren't you being ironic? Like, I can't even tell. Aren't you? Like, you are, right?
Everybody thinks I'm joking. I am not joking at all. Here's how you know that I'm serious. I've loved the story with all of these guys, but the thing is, it does not make me give a damn about them as wrestlers. And I realize that watching this match, because I was sitting there and I was like, okay, I've loved nearly every single thing that I've seen from these guys. A TMC Z-style video that they did, and I'm not joking when I say that, you know, this is juicy goodness. But when you actually get to the match, what all of that stuff was building towards, I was just sitting there like, okay, I don't really care about this. Like, I want to know more about the damn earrings. Like, so it's so weird, because the story, it of course it was built towards the match technically, but it didn't feel like build. Like, I don't feel like that was the payoff. I feel like it's something else. It's the weirdest thing.
I actually like this match.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Steven, in terms of liking the match itself, but the story around it, if we're going to get more of that same overly dramatic stuff, I'm not looking forward to it. So I am not on the same page in terms of the story at all. For me, you know why it doesn't make you give a damn about these guys as wrestlers? Because that story doesn't fit these characters at all in any way, shape, or form. And that's why it just doesn't go anywhere. And this type of story is one that, honestly, I wouldn't be that interested in almost regardless. I mean, if the characters really fit the bill for that TMZ type of story, then maybe I could be like a little more invested into it. But I don't know. I just think it just feels so hokey that it's hard to get into at all. Honestly, it just feels too cheesy. There can be cheesy stories, but this one's just a little too much cheese for me. It's like getting extra cheese on top of extra cheese on your pizza, and it's just a little too damn much, and you're like, all right, I can't even taste any of the rest of this pizza besides the damn cheese.
You know what? They should do a spin-off and put it on a WWE network. I would definitely watch that. Okay, what do we have here? Okay, so the thing is, I think I wore this shirt recently. I probably didn't. I wear this on Anarchy?
Yeah, you definitely did.
Yeah, and the stench that you guys are getting a whiff of right now, it is awesomeness. That's what it is. I had to wear this shirt once again to show support for the New Day, because they competed in a match at Night of Champions with their tag titles on the line versus the Dudley Boyz. And if we were given out awards for the most entertaining match of the year, damn it, there's nothing that can beat this one right here. I was all over the friggin' place just laughing at every single second of this match, because there was just some kind of greatness going on. And of course we had Xavier Woods there, and he came in because he was ride or friggin' die. New Day actually did get disqualified in this match after, I believe it was Kofi got hit with the 3D, but Xavier Woods intervened and he broke up the pinfall, and that was the end of the match. So New Day, they walk away as the losers, but they still have their tag team titles.
I wish New Day would have beaten him in a dirty manner, like we talked about. I'm glad that the Dudleys didn't win, but really I was very unsatisfied by the ending. I kind of wish they did something more sneaky, you know, to piss these guys off. But did you notice how Xavier got a seizure after that 3D after the match?
Yes. He got put through a table after everything was said and done. A table in which New Day was going to put one of the Dudleys through, and it was so hilarious the fact that Devon was helping them set up the table, like he had straightened out one of the legs. Go back and watch it if you missed it, but yeah, that was hilarious. You know, he's coming through also. He's a real MVP.
Yep, an enjoyable tag match, no question, and Xavier Woods was doing his thing, and the pre-match promo from them, even referencing the State Farm commercials through a sing-song type of style of the way that they go about things, is just so funny, entertaining. It's as good as you can get. It's like, this is why New Day is the most entertaining thing going in WWE right now.
Yes.
For sure. And Steven hit the nail on the head in terms of, I wish they won this match in a dirty manner. That is really what I wanted to see too. That's exactly what we talked about in the preview show, last week. And yeah, why not? Why not have them go over dirty, piss off the Dudleys that much more? But instead, we get the 3D through the table, and I mean, that's not bad, but a DQ finish here, I just don't think it was needed. I'll take it, though, because at least they held on to the belts, but I still want them to at least beat the Dudley Boyz in some way, shape, or form to look like they have, endless tricks up their sleeves, so to speak. So I really hope that we can get that coming to the next pay-per-view, but I think that this is more or less building up to a no DQ style match, whether it's in the cell or not, I'm not sure. Going into Hell in a Cell, they're probably looking at a no DQ match of some sort, because there was a DQ finish, and they're going to be like, oh, you can't, escape this time. You're going to have to actually win. So that's where I'd really like to see, with a no DQ match, them especially go on with those tactics and beat them once again to continue the rivalry that much more. Because honestly, the moment that the big babyface moment to get out of this is to see the Dudleys win the belts again for the first time in over a decade. But we don't need to see that right away. New Day just won the belts at SummerSlam. They can build up that frustration level that much more for the Dudleys. That way, the moment that they win would get more of a response.
So, one of our favorite pastimes here on PWF Empire Live, Xavier Woods quotes, and also just New Day in general, talking about how awesome they are. Do you guys have any favorite lines from this go-around? I know Xavier, he was making fun of the fact that Bubba Ray and Devon had on different color camouflage. That was pretty awesome. And then Big E, he dropped the Michael Jackson line, "You ain't bad, you ain't nothing." Out that moment right there, New Day, greatest of all time. So,
yeah, I don't know, man. Xavier
stuff.
Doesn't do much for me, but I like Big E. He made me laugh. Like, I like when he went, "Don't boo the president," and then later on he's like gyrating on the ring apron. He's just really funny. Xavier's good, but I like Big E better.
They're awesome. All three of those guys are truly awesome. And just for a little spoiler alert for you guys, a lot of people have requested a push repackage release on New Day, and that is coming. Our next edition of push repackage release is going to be on those guys. So, but from this point on, we're going to go ahead and continue on with Night of Champions, and we have another title match here. This was Charlotte versus Nikki Bella, who is now the longest reigning Divas champion of all time. They were joined at ringside by their fellow team members, PCB for Charlotte and Team Bella for Nikki, and Charlotte walks away as the victor in this match, but it was not without a big fight, because early on in the match she kind of I guess hyperextended her left knee, and Nikki worked that over for 99.9999999% of the rest of the match. And yeah, as hard as she worked that over, it didn't stop Charlotte from locking in the figure 8 and having Nikki tap out to become the next Divas champion.
Well, I don't know, man. This didn't feel like a big match, and maybe I'm just getting used to the ones on NXT, but this was it was okay. It was I'd say it's good, but I don't know, man. Something was very unsatisfying about it to me, especially because Nikki tapped, I think, way too quickly for someone who's had that long of a streak. And was the Charlotte thing intended? I guess it was, right? It did seem very unintentional, but I noticed this pay-per-view they did a lot of those in-ring storytelling kind of things, right?
I don't know. It's weird because I was sitting there thinking that too, because I thought it was good booking to book the match in that way. So it's either WWE's creative team did an amazing job booking the match, or Nikki Bella just transformed into a ring general, and she was light on her feet right there. Like, you know what, this could be a great story, so I'm gonna go with this. So,
no, well, I think if it was real, then it would be a terrible idea for Nikki to actually target the leg. So I'm guessing it was, but it was strange though, like, because it kind of came out of nowhere. But I do commend that. I feel like someone else is working with the matches on this show, because there was a lot of that. You had that in the Owens match as well, so kind of strange. But I don't know, man. I feel like it was kind of underwhelming.
Yeah, for me, I thought that the match was really good, and Nikki, I can't really say that she surprised me, because I know that she's good, but it was just great to see her be able to perform at a level to where I know that she's capable of. And she pulled out some really good stuff in this match. But as good as she was in the match and as good as Charlotte was in selling and things like that, I'm going to have to side with Steven on this one. Something felt very flat about the ending of the match. It didn't seem as if it was a big moment like WWE was building it up to be. And this goes more along the lines of WWE paying lip service to this whole Diva Revolution thing, because I watched NXT and I've seen all of those women's championship matches down there and how they progressively get better and better and better and better, and they just keep going up. And I remember the match between Natalya and Charlotte when she won the NXT Women's Championship, and that one felt so much more satisfying than this one did. And I was just sitting there watching, and I'm like, well, what the hell is Charlotte crying for? Like, is she crying because she knew this one didn't match up to the one that she had in a developmental territory? Like, that's the only reason why she could be crying to me.
Yeah, there's several things going on here. I think the first is that the belt looks really silly and stupid. I took the Cena belt way more seriously than I do this one. It just looks like a Barbie doll toy. Like, that's... And I know that was the intention, right? That was the intention.
You know how Barbie, she has all of those different occupations, like she's a lawyer, a veterinarian, a doctor, and the next day. That is Barbie's belt if she was to become a diva.
Yeah. And the other thing was that they just didn't present this as a main event, because NXT always presents the Divas title match as a main event. They give them the same entrances as the men. They get the backstage cool, like, backstage intro that they do with the little noise. I don't know how else to describe it. You guys know what I'm talking about. So this one was just positioned in the middle of the show, and I think they didn't even did they even do the in-ring announcements that they usually do for big title matches?
Nope.
Right, so that's another thing.
Yeah, because I remember that they didn't do it because it was kind of awkward how they announced the match, because Charlotte had came out while Eden was still, like, giving the stipulation for the match. So, yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think another thing is all the other divas being around were just kind of devalued it, because you wouldn't have that many people ringside to a world title match, I don't think, unless it's a Seth Rollins match.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I can't really say a whole lot that is too differing here, because I really felt that the match did lack something too. It wasn't bad. I don't think it was a bad match by any stretch, but it certainly wasn't a great one. I think that the way... And even though I said on Raw, I think that there was at least a reason to have another match between the two, it made that the feel-good moment of Charlotte winning not even feel as good. It was nice to see Ric Flair get emotional and try to blend that together with, like, the father-daughter moment and everything. That's all nice and everything. And that's one moment where I think having Ric Flair involved is actually a good idea. Again, I've said before that I think that they go too far with the Ric Flair being her father thing, and they don't let her be who she is more so. Either way, it's not about that. I'm hoping that we're going to get a Paige heel turn here, and that she's going to turn on Charlotte, and that's going to be the feud after Nikki gets her rematch or whatever. But yeah, it was all right. It just, to me, felt like standard regular Divas stuff, which is really too bad. And I think it's more the placement of the Divas division that's going to make us feel more negative toward this than it would if it was actually, a legit division going into it. It's hard to just make this division turn right around. So Charlotte winning the title could actually be a good thing for the future, but right now it's probably not going to feel that awesome, because, let's be honest, the Divas division in the main roster just doesn't have a whole lot to it that's all that great. So there isn't going to be that much of a feel-good moment. The match itself was actually told a story, so there's that. That's positive. It got some time. That's positive. It was better than a lot of the other Divas title matches. That's positive. So there are some good things to take away from it, and I do think that having Charlotte and her dad in the ring, getting emotional, did have a feel-good element to it, but I couldn't relate to it like I could with, like, when Bayley won the belt, the women's belt, the NXT women's belt, before. When that happened, it felt like this big moment because there was build-up and the belt feels legit. It's like, again, the history of the title does make a difference. Where that title stands does make a huge impact on whether or not a match is going to feel like it has a big, aura to it. And that's a lot of the reason, at least for me, why I couldn't feel that, the emotion that you're supposed to be, feeling at the end of a moment like Charlotte winning the championship like that. So again, this could be a turning point, which is something to be hopeful for. I don't think you should hold your breath on it, but again, maybe it can be the changing of the guard type of moment more than anything else. But again, when a championship has the lack of legitimacy that the Divas title has, not only in look and feel, but also in the way that it's been defended, built, booked, etc., it's hard to have that type of moment and actually have it be successful.
That's what I'm hoping for primarily with Charlotte winning the championship, is that it serves as a turning point for the division, a reset, sort of. We may have gone through a little rough patch to get here, but I'm always that type of guy. I'm willing to wipe the slate clean and see what you do as you progress forward on a different note. So now we have Charlotte as a Divas champion, and we'll see how things go. And if they don't go well, we do have that lady right there, Sasha Banks and Bayley, that are going to be main eventing the next NXT TakeOver special in a 30-minute Iron Woman match. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that on the next episode of PWF Empire Live. But as for now, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next match that took place at Night of Champions. This was a non-title match, the Wyatt family versus Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. And so we had the third man, the mystery partner, who was going to be joining Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. It turned out that person was Chris Jericho. Now, I did offer my services, and they didn't take me up on that offer. And if they actually had, they probably would have won the match. But this time around, they didn't, and, they lost. As a result, Chris Jericho, I guess he passed out. I don't even know what to call that move. It's some kind of choke that Braun Strowman does, but whatever it is, it was effective. He has Chris Jericho pass out, and the Wyatt family, they're declared the victors. Now, I have to Chris Jericho, he has to be really pissed off at what happened in this match, because back in the Attitude Era, I don't know if I was the only one that noticed this, but you remember they used to raise the people's hands like 3 times before they called the match? Chris Jericho was probably waiting for that third time. He was like, what the fuck, man? You guys just killed all of the drama.
Is this like a new rule change or something? Because it's awfully weird to me. Because lately they've been doing that, where if there's even one hand drop, it's like, oh, over. But I remember when they used to do the three, bring the hand up 3 times to see if they're gonna be able to come back, and then they do the dramatic, his hand's about to drop down, and then he's fighting back. They did that all the time. So it's kind of weird to see this. But for me, this match, Jericho being the third guy wasn't that great for me. It wasn't the worst choice. There could have it certainly could have been worse, but it
could have been Eric Rowan.
Yes, but it also wasn't as good as it could have been either. So it was kind of in the middle for me, and that did have an impact on the rest of the match. It made me, at least, less excited for the remainder of the match, or the actual match itself, because of the fact that I wasn't all that into Jericho being the third guy. It was kind of odd to have him there. But I will say the Wyatt family winning was good. Braun Strowman looking strong is good. And the match itself wasn't, it's not like it was some terrible in-ring quality. It was pretty good. It was fine, a decent 6-man tag match, but harder to get into because the third guy was kind of a letdown. And that's nothing against Chris Jericho. I'm a big fan of Chris Jericho, and I like seeing him get used on pay-per-views and the actual stuff, the actual product itself, besides the house shows and things like that. But here, it just felt kind of weird. It really didn't strike with me.
I'm never excited to see Jericho anymore because I hate with a passion his face persona. It's the worst thing ever to me. Because you remember how when he came back last time against CM Punk and he was doing like the ironic, "Come on, baby, yeah." That's actually his face character. Like he's just.
So he was making fun of himself.
I don't know, man. It's just like that stereotype is his actual character now, and I don't like it. I hate it. But I was intrigued by the end of this match. If this is going somewhere, I'm actually very intrigued because he tagged himself in. You saw Roman go, "What the fuck?" You have Jericho pass out. After the match, you see Dean and Roman like, "What do we do? Do we kick this guy's ass?" Jericho kind of shrugs them off and he walks away looking like the heel Jericho. And I'm saying if this is a beginning of a heel turn against Roman or Dean, I'm actually all for that. I think that's going to be great. But other than that, if that's not the case, I think Jericho was a letdown, but the match was still great. And I'm glad that the new guy won.
You know what I think it was with Chris Jericho? He probably hasn't been watching a WWE product lately, and he looked at Braun Strowman when he got out there, and he was like, "What the fuck? You guys didn't tell me this guy was this big." Like, they probably, like, sold him a false bill of goods. He came out there, and he was like, "Damn, I didn't expect this." But, what do I say about this match? It was good. It wasn't as good as it could have been, but you kind of have to wonder, like, what's the logic that goes into Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns picking Chris Jericho? Because if I'm in the mind of Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, and I'm thinking logically about this, you have to imagine that they were having second thoughts. Like 2 minutes within the match, Braun Strowman picks Chris Jericho up with a gorilla press and tosses his ass to the outside of the ring like he weighed as much as a feather. And you have to be looking at that like, yeah, we kind of made the wrong decision on this one. And it was a good match. I like the fact that Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, they actually used a bit of teamwork to finally get Braun Strowman off of his feet. And there was a lot of good stuff going on between them. And I'm wondering what's going to happen next with Chris Jericho. So this was intriguing, but I don't know. Like, it's so weird because
it was just lacking something. It's hard to put your finger on exactly what it was lacking, but it just felt like a weird choice for the third guy. Like, you would think that Ambrose and Reigns were looking for a guy who was going to be a formidable force to be, to even the odds against Braun Strowman. But Chris Jericho is, I think, the smallest guy on that team, or about the same size as Ambrose, around that. So it's like, you didn't get a guy who's going to, be able to take down Braun Strowman on his own. Obviously, you got a veteran and a former world champion, so that there's that. It's not like Jericho lacks legitimacy, but he doesn't have like the size and strength of that big third guy that you might have thought they would be going after. That's why we were pondering a lot of bigger superstars as options. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but I will say that the idea of that heel persona coming out at the end was kind of interesting to see, Jericho bump Ambrose like that. It's like, maybe we will see more of Jericho, and that is only a good thing as far as I'm concerned. But at least Braun Strowman looked pretty good. He had a good performance, and that's a huge thing to take away from this as well. Luke Harper, as always, doing his thing with that suicide dive, just impressing the crap out of me once again. And so the flow of this match was definitely on point, but I don't know, there was just something lacking with Jericho being the choice.
I think that was kind of the point.
The thing is, to me, it seemed as if this was one of those moments where, and I hate when this happens, you can see the booking, and it's not as if Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, the characters, made that decision. You could tell that was booking. Like, the creative team came up with that, and that kind of takes you out of the story a little bit. It gives you a very detached feeling, and I don't like when that happens.
That's a good point. That is a good point. But I think what they were trying to get across, and I'm not really sure, but I think they were trying to get across that they chose the wrong guy. Because, like you said, 5 seconds into the match, he's throwing Jericho around, and then Jericho basically gets too cocky, and he ends up costing them the match. And I think if this is leading into a heel Jericho versus Roman or Dean feud, I think that was a very interesting choice they made, But if they don't go that route, then this was just filler, which I don't know. I'm not too big of a fan of that because it means it didn't really progress anything. They're just gonna have to find another guy.
I hope they do go that route. I like that personally. If they don't go that route, then yeah, it's weird. So, in the way that Ambrose and Reigns were kind of looking at Jericho after the match made me think that they're like, man, what the hell? You know, we were gonna win this match, and then you tag yourself in like that. What is going on with you? So that was a good element there. But I'm still not that keen on him being the third guy either way. But that at least would make this story more interesting, no question.
From this point, we move on to the doubleheader from Seth Rollins. He was competing back-to-back at Night of Champions. The first match was for the United States Championship versus a challenger, John Cena, who is a challenger no more because he's the new United States Champion. He hit Seth Rollins with the attitude adjustment, pinned him, 1, 2, 3, match over and done with at that point. I was very surprised that this match ended in one finisher. Now, I was thinking that maybe it was a situation where Seth Rollins is just I guess cutting his losses, like, you know what, I'll go ahead and give this up to save a bit of energy for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. But, like, I shouldn't have even expected that to be brought up by the commentary team because, shit, I know that wasn't going to happen. But it just felt very weird. And it's such a crazy position that I'm in right now to say that it's weird that a match finished with a finisher. Just one. So that kind of... I was sitting there and I was like, oh, wow. Because I literally thought, right when John Cena pinned him, I was like, whatever. The match is going to continue because we know WWE and their over-reliance on finishers and things like that. But even when they end the match with one finisher, it felt very weird because you don't think that a match on that high of a level is going to end with one finisher. But, yeah. This one did.
Yeah, I don't think the point was that Rollins was cutting his losses because throughout the match they were selling the opposite narrative. They kept saying that Rollins actually, for some reason, I don't understand why. If I was Rollins, I would have just threw this match. But for some reason, Rollins actually cares about this match. He wants to win. He wants to prove himself. And he was busting out all the stops. So I don't think Rollins was just cutting his losses. But I don't really have a problem with it ending on one finisher because it was a long match and Cena did get a lot of damage in. And that's usually the difference because usually when they have multiple finishes, the finishes come much earlier in the match. You usually have one in the middle. Sometimes you even have one at the start if it's like a Brock Lesnar match. So, yeah, this one came after about 20 minutes, so that makes sense to me.
And that's absolutely fine with me because I am a fan of having less finishers in matches sometimes. I think the Cena matches have way too many finishes for the most part. In particular, John Cena matches seem to have more finishers from both guys. Cena hitting 4 or 5 AAs sometimes, usually at least 2 or 3, not always 4 or 5. But you get my drift. He usually ends up hitting multiple AAs, and there's continuous, back and forth finishes like Rock and Cena's second match. I remember that one having so many finishers in it. And I just think it's overused. Yeah, exactly. Like, honestly, to me, finishers are only supposed to be hit once or twice during a match. Like, the reason that you started to see a second finisher be hit by the same guy in a match was to have a shock value that someone could actually kick out of one for the first time. How effective is a finishing maneuver if people always kick out of it? I like that there was only one finish in this match. That was good. I also like that it was clean. I am not always going to be a fan of John Cena winning. You've heard me say the very, very repetitive line that I've come out with all the time on PWF Empire Live, that there is an overwhelming predictability that John Cena was going to win this match, and it is the Cena wins LOL type of thing. And yeah,
I think that LOL goes before Cena wins. LOL Cena wins.
All right. Yeah. It could probably go before and after at this point. It's everywhere. The whole thing could just be LOL because that's pretty much what it translates to at this point. Well, Cena won. Either way, yeah, that's where we're at.
I'm glad that he won, man, because the United States title thing was the best thing Cena's been involved with in years, and I was kind of annoyed that it got cut short at SummerSlam, so I'm hoping he picks it back up and then maybe he can put someone over like Cesaro. I want to see.
Hell yeah, I'm glad he won too.
I want to see Cena get beat for the U.S. title clean in a few months.
If that is what we are going to get with this U.S. title reign, I have no issue with it whatsoever. That's great. But unless we're getting that, then I'm just like, man, why again? But, they were kind of in a corner here. You put the belt on Rollins, the U.S. belt on Rollins, and who's he going to lose it to? That unless it's losing it back to Cena, who is he going to lose it to? Unless it's for both belts, a match that both titles are on the line against one person. So, yeah, I'm okay with it, I guess. It's just seeing Cena win again. It is so repetitive. It really is. And maybe that's just me being annoyed with the repetitiveness, and I always have been. So, but his U.S. title run, at least the last one that he had, was very good, and he had some really good matches, no question. But the goal of this next U.S. title run of his should be to put someone over clean, and if it's not, then that's just terrible. That's just terrible. But the match itself was very, very good here. Nothing under what I would have expected. I expected a great match. We got a great match. Some really cool moments, especially when Rollins off the top rope hit that superplex, rolled right on over, and hit another front suplex. I was like, man, what the hell is going on? I think Rollins showed off his athleticism very well in this
match.
Oh my God, his athleticism was unreal in this match. So, as good as it gets for Seth. Great performance on both guys' parts, and a really great match. But yeah, seeing Cena win clean, it's still better than a fuck finish. It's still better than the fuckery. It is better than fuckery, no question about it. There's no thank God there was no fuckery in the finish to that match. Wow, I was like, okay, a clean finish. That's at least we got that. That's how over the top WWE has been with their shit finishes. Is that we are at a point right now where a clean finish is like, oh my God, a clean finish. It used to be that when there was a weird finish, it would be an interesting piece to an angle potentially. Now it's so overused that a clean finish feels refreshing. That's how crazy things have been.
Praise the friggin' Lord. I'm glad about that, and I'm also glad that John Cena won the United States Championship back. I thought that his time as United States Champion was great. He was refreshing. John Cena in the year 2015 was one of the most refreshing parts of Monday Night Raw. I know that sounds very crazy to say, but it's true. It's damn true. And yeah, this match ending cleanly, I thought that was awesome as well. Just all around. A lot of the stuff that Seth Rollins did in this match, amazing. Even though he didn't compete much like a heel. But here's the thing about Seth Rollins, and I think it's more evident now in this very night than any other time that I've said anything about Seth Rollins. Because I actually get to put a positive spin on it this time around. That's the guy I want to see. I want to see a guy whose storyline, whose character matches his level of talent, because as much of a chicken shit heel as he is and how he runs around as if he's some kind of child and the authority, they're his parents and things like that, a guy who's booked that way should not be able to get into the ring and do the things that Seth Rollins is able to do. I just want a guy whose character lives up to the level of his talent. I need those two to meet somewhere. Hopefully the character rises up and the talent doesn't drop down, but that's all I'm saying. All I'm saying, the guy that we see on pay-per-views is not the guy that we see on weekly TV, and I want a merging of the two. Like I said, hopefully more on the side of the talent and less on the bullshitty Peter Brady character. So yeah, great match for Seth Rollins and John Cena. Now we move on to the main event of the night. It was the WWE World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Seth Rollins defending versus Sting, and there was actually a bit of a mix-up between Seth Rollins and John Cena before this match started, because after the Cena and Seth Rollins match, Seth actually tried to walk away from ringside. John Cena hit him with the attitude adjustment, tossed his ass back into the ring so that match could get underway. And when it got underway, man, once again, Seth Rollins showed up and he showed out. The craziest moment of this match to me was when they were both on top of the announcer's table on the outside of the ring, and all of a sudden Seth pushed Sting and he crashed through the Spanish announce table. He whooped his ass so badly in that match that Sting from the Police felt it. Like, that's how badly Sting got his ass kicked. But yeah, when everything was said and done, Sting goes to lock in the Scorpion Deathlock, but Seth Rollins flips the script and he pins Sting, and he retains his championship.
That was a nice reversal to win the match, too. Very nice.
Yes.
Well done.
And for
Good
the person
match.
that said, the person that asked the question earlier on, I wonder how much bitching is Jay going to do about Seth Rollins tonight? None. None at all. This is the guy I want to see.
This is the essence of what we have been talking about for all this time. This is Seth Rollins. Again, pay-per-view Seth Rollins versus Monday Night Raw Seth Rollins. Two completely different people. It's just so weird. But
that's why one has on black and the other has on white. and thank you to Hoodies for pointing that out to me on Twitter. He's like, they're two different people. I get it now.
Maybe he is having a multiple personality identity crisis. Maybe that's who Seth Rollins really
More
is.
soap opera stuff. They had that on soap opera too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, that's better than hokey. Let me give you earrings, Summer Rae crap. That's a lot better. There's a mentality side to Seth Rollins. I like that. If that was actually what they were going for, I would like it. But I don't think that is. I think that would be kind of giving them too much credit. But this was a very good match, and I agree in terms of that table spot being like a wow type of moment. I give Sting a lot of credit for taking some big bumps. Again, the guy definitely showed up, even flying onto Rollins on the outside. Yes. Very impressive on Sting's part. And he didn't wrestle in a t-shirt. He wore his original, his actual gear, which was good too.
That adds some points to the match, definitely.
It certainly does, because everyone was like, "Oh, if he's gonna wrestle in a t-shirt, it's just proof he's done." And you got the crowd, to chant that he still got it. So, as far as I'm concerned, that sells the point that he actually does still have it. Still can go out there and put on a good solid match. He's 56 years old. I don't expect him to be as good as he was 15 years ago. He's not. And that's all right. He still doesn't lock the Scorpion Deathlock in like he used to. Not at all. But honestly, he did a good job. He held his own, and it was a good match, and Seth Rollins was made to look good against him, and he won. And he won without any fuckery. And that was exciting. I know we're going to talk about what happened after the match next. But for the match itself, good stuff. Really, really enjoyable stuff, honestly.
I don't know. I feel like Sting, like after this and after the Triple H thing, like Sting has almost no credibility right now. He is basically on par with Chris Jericho. He's a guy who we're supposed to believe has credibility, but he can't beat Seth Rollins, which everyone could beat Seth Rollins. He just fought a match with Cena that lasted like 25 minutes. This was like...
Hell, didn't Joey Mercury pin Seth Rollins?
Well, yeah, he did, but... and now they're trying to make Sting... Like, Evan, if I were you, I'd be pissed off, because right now they're trying to sell Sting as like this old guy who can't even compete, because I think someone in the chat said like Sting looked like the one who just wrestled 2 matches. Rollins looked fresh as hell in that match. Like, what the hell happened?
But considering that Rollins is like 27 and Sting is 56, doesn't that make sense?
Sure, it makes sense, but to me this is wrestling where you gotta, like, age doesn't exactly matter. The Undertaker is still a formidable guy. He's, I don't know how old he is, 50.
Yeah, I think so.
And to me,
that's a very interesting point to bring up, because if you look at the match between Brock Lesnar and the Undertaker, age, as far as the booking went, was not a factor at all. So the fact that it came into play here with Sting, that's interesting.
Also, Sting isn't that old, because like you said, he could still go. In real life, he wouldn't be... Well, okay, not in real life. If it was a real life fight, he'd be done. But if it was your average wrestling match, he wouldn't be collapsing like that. So basically, the story is with Sting is that he's really old.
And I just want to make it clear to people that we're not saying Sting is old, because I don't really care about age at all. It's like, if a guy can still get into the ring and he can go, then damn it, that's all that really matters to me. What we're saying is the way in which the match was booked, because if you look at the way that the trainers came over to Sting and things like that and trying to see if they should continue on in the match, it's as if WWE was sending the message with the booking of the match, like, this is an old-ass guy who can't hang with Seth Rollins.
Yeah. And although Undertaker is a formidable force, he's still The Undertaker, and there's more of a presence to his character in terms of the way that he has always been booked and showed off. Like, there's always been, like, let's not even forget that, like, the character origins is that he used to gain power from an urn. Like, that is something that Undertaker has always had over everyone. And yeah, Sting does have a mystique to him, but not the same way that Undertaker almost has, like, an otherworldly power to him. So I feel like age would play a bigger role for a guy like a Sting than it would an Undertaker. But either way, could I be pissed? I could be, but I think that the point of Sting being here in this match was supposed to be putting Seth Rollins over. I feel like it's awfully hypocritical to be like, oh yeah, you know, okay, Sting winning the title, that's great, but everybody was upset about the idea of Sting not winning the championship, and now that Sting didn't win the title, everyone's like, oh, well, now Sting looks like crap. It's like, well, what did you want? I mean, then there would have been a screwy finish.
I don't mind.
Here's the thing, Evan. I understand the whole supernatural element that comes into play with The Undertaker, but I am not going to give WWE that much credit because, hell, I said it last week, and I believe the week before last, the mystique of Sting was gone. With the way that they built up this match every single week, who Sting was, the legend, the iconicness of Sting, it eroded to the point where we got the guy that we got in the match. Like, the action, I thought that the action in the match, it was great. Like, Sting, I can't say I guess he did exceed my expectations because I didn't have any expectations at all. I just knew that some kind of fuckery was coming in, and I was just sitting there like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and prepare myself for it. But he got into the ring, and he showed up, and he showed out. I felt as if he was present in the match, and that's great for him. But it's just... do we want to go ahead and get it to the whole conspiracy theory type thing and, you know, talk about the vendetta against WCW guys and the way that Sting was presented? I don't know, because he just didn't seem like Sting to me with the way that he was presented in this entire storyline.
Yeah, I just feel like they dropped the ball with Sting because, yeah, I think that at his age he should be putting people over, sure, but this is his first WWE run, man. It took him how long to get here? I feel like he should have won the match with Triple H at least, and he shouldn't have looked like an old man in this match. Like, if he was going to lose, okay, fine. But they just blew his whole mystique because, like Jay said, they were hyping this guy up for the past month. And then he gets in the match, he gets gassed after 5 minutes. Like, what's up with that? So now if they ever do a Taker versus Sting match, I don't want to see it because clearly Sting is not on the level of Undertaker. He's not even on the level of Seth Rollins. So, I don't know.
Oh, no, I don't disagree with that point. I just think that it's almost like if we're going to suspend the belief with Undertaker, then why isn't it consistent across the board? Either you're going to... If Undertaker has a mystique to him, then Sting should too. But if Sting's going to have a realistic age to him, then Undertaker should too. I think that there should be consistency there. But I'm just saying that Undertaker's legacy in WWE is so much longer, and, you know, it's all in WWE, whereas Sting is all in WCW until now. If he had won his match with Triple H and then lost this match, I don't think there would be as much, you know, like, oh, well, now Sting's 0-2, whatever. I think he should have won that match with Triple H. I said that at WrestleMania. I still feel that way now, and I'm always going to feel that way. That was a dumb idea in terms of having him lose. But I think a lot of what had to do with him losing that match was the fact that they were representing WWE and WCW in that, and there was no way that WCW was going to come away with that win. And again, I'm not going on about this conspiracy. I'm not saying that that's why Sting lost this match, but I really do have a feeling that may have been why he lost at WrestleMania in a stupid way. Here tonight, him losing was definitely a good thing, but I don't know where they go with him from here. It's a great question because I don't know. It's like what do you do now with this guy? So yeah, I'm not saying I don't see where you guys are coming from at all, but I do think that the booking here made enough sense because it would be like Sting hasn't been presented to you in WWE as having this crazy mystique at all, and if all you've been given is the guy that you have, then why would it be so crazy for Seth Rollins to have beaten him and for him to have looked like an old man at a certain point in this match? Like, Seth Rollins should be able to beat him. So it's like it kind of falls back on the other side of that coin. Like, if Sting was on the same level as Seth Rollins throughout this match, because let's be honest, that would be weird. If he was on the same level as Seth Rollins in this entire match, then people would be saying, oh, Rollins can't even look dominant over Sting.
Yeah, but remember, Rollins just came out of a match against Cena, and then after the match, he got FU'd onto the outside of the ring. So it's like, it's not like this was fresh 20-year-old Rollins versus 50-year-old Sting. This was beaten down Seth Rollins versus 50-year-old Sting, and so I don't know. I think Sting should have had a bit of an edge here. I don't know.
Yeah,
I see where you're coming from. I just feel like if I were you, because you're a big Sting fan, I'm not really a Sting fan. I'm just kind of looking at it from someone who is a fan. I'd be pissed off. Like, I really would.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel that much. I don't feel that upset because, again, I went back to saying what I had said on the preview show where I didn't really feel like Sting's legacy had any real issues because he's lost his matches in WWE so far. Like, there's still a legacy of Sting. There's still an aura to Sting that still makes you say, well, you know, this guy can still go out there and win a match. Like, if you're only looking at WWE, okay, maybe you wouldn't think that, but you know, the majority, the WWE is assuming that most people understand that Sting has had a long, storied career before this as a multiple-time world champion. It's not like they present him as this brand new character. So as far as I'm concerned, him losing these matches isn't the worst thing. What is weird is where they're going to go from here, because he lost clean. There's no reason for him to get another match against Rollins. So I don't know what they do with Sting next. That's the big question mark that I have that makes me like, okay, yeah, this doesn't make much sense. But as far as the story told in this match, I actually thought it was good because Sting did start the match off with offense, did try to get Rollins to tap out early on, and Rollins was able to, you know, last longer. But we know him as a guy who does CrossFit. We know him as a guy who is in unbelievable shape. We know him as a guy who has been on Raw multiple times and wrestled more than one match in the same night. Even if he does lose them all, he still wrestles. You know, we know that he can go in the ring for a long, long time. So I don't know. I don't think that that's that far beyond our belief either. But again, that does kind of play into the whole. I think a lot of it is like a paradox. It's like two sides. Like the things seem to go against each other, but yet they both can make some sense. You know, like you can see two ways about all of this stuff, because if we go back to the whole Rollins on pay-per-view versus Rollins on Raw, then you got two different characters. But Rollins on pay-per-view, you could believe him going out there and wrestling two matches and winning them both, or going through a 25-minute match with Cena and then beating whoever. But on Raw, you would think, well, if he lost even a 5-minute match, then he's going to lose any other match he has tonight because he gets too flustered by it. So it's like Rollins being two different people, it seems, makes the whole thing confusing too.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't think anything is going to happen with Sting and Rollins after this. I think Sting was pulled out of their ass as filler, and now Sting is going to wait on the sidelines until they need to pull him out of their ass again, probably at WrestleMania. And I don't know against who. Maybe Bray Wyatt, that would be interesting. Don't know. But I don't think he's going to be around until maybe WrestleMania time.
Okay, we're talking about what's going to happen next. Could we possibly be in line for Seth Rollins versus Kane? Because he made his return after Seth...
They wanted to do the match. It's finally happening at Hell in a Cell, which actually makes a lot of sense. But
oh, God.
I'm kind of pissed off that Kane's yet again a focal point in something, but it makes sense as far as, well, it's Hell in a Cell. Kane's pretty known for that. And also, the pay-per-view is going to be headlined by Taker and Brock, so they can afford to have Kane wrestle for the world title.
See, these are the times where I miss Brock Lesnar being WWE World Heavyweight Champion because we didn't get bullshit filler title matches with him. You know, that comes with not being there every month. And if we do go in the direction of Kane versus Seth Rollins, like,
I think it's pretty clear that's where we're going because, like I said, Rollins has beaten everyone. Who is he going to face? It's not going to be Sting again right now, I don't think. I think it's probably going to be Kane. It makes sense, Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, it
So,
makes sense because Kane is 7 feet tall, so that
yeah,
makes
look,
sense.
I honestly don't mind this match happening. I especially don't mind it happening in Hell in a Cell because, like I said, they have Brock and Taker, so they can afford to have Rollins against Kane, like no big deal. But I'm just gonna dread the build up for this because Taker and Brock aren't gonna be there every week, so Kane is gonna be the focal point of this show for the next 4 weeks, which is gonna not be fun to watch, really.
It's just so hard to, again, we talk about like an inconsistent character, and Kane is the definition of that. I mean, you have a guy who's been masked, corporate, masked, corporate, masked, like it goes back and forth over and over again, and you're just like, well, who the fuck is Kane? I mean, it's like, it just, I just don't have any interest in it, really. I'm not sitting there like, oh my god. I will say a match between these two guys won't be bad in terms of quality in the ring, but I don't care about Kane being a main point of storytelling. If anything, all it does is underline the fact that WWE doesn't have enough main event guys right now.
Ding, 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 we have a
because
winner.
they have no one. Yeah, no one else for Rollins to face, and you're right, Steven. There is no one else for him to face. He's beaten everybody, and what else is there to do besides have this? And so, obviously, if you are WWE and you don't have a lot of options, this might be what you go to. But that's just proof. All it does is underline that point, that there's just not enough guys for Rollins as a top-level star to face. There's just not enough guys who are in that position. There's guys who have the talent to be in that position. There's plenty of them. This, arguably, is one of the most talent-filled rosters WWE's ever seen. But yet, it is also one of the worst booked, if not the worst booked times in the company as well. So it's just a really big conflicting issue that they've got going on. So the idea of Kane and Rollins, it certainly does make some sense. I mean, they've been associated with each other quite a bit, but it's weird to see Kane come down the aisle with a mask on and actually have any believability in the guy. All of a sudden, he's the demon again. And then he just pulls the mask off and puts on a tie, and he's corporate and
Some
directing
business slacks.
directing operations and wrestling in those business slacks, Jay. Don't forget.
Yeah. Oh, and also Sheamus's Mohawk attempted to cash in Money in the Bank briefcase. So, yeah, Kane thwarted that attempt, and that was that. That was WWE's attempt. I don't know what it is with them. They just can't go away without some type of fuckery or something happening, because if you're in a situation where the champion, he's going to be in 2 matches, especially 2 matches back to back, you kind of have to have some type of involvement with the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. But they didn't want Sheamus to cash in. They didn't want him to become champion at that time, if they even do it all. But yeah, so that's why we have to bring back Kane and interfere and stuff like that. So yeah, they just couldn't resist just a tiny bit of fuckery. But luckily it didn't happen in any of the matches. And with that being said, I am really, really satisfied with the way that Night of Champions turned out. One of the big points for me going into this show was Seth Rollins. I was hoping that I did not see more of the same from that guy, and I'm so glad that we had the return of the Seth Rollins that I'm actually proud to be a fan of. And the fact that that guy was on the show, and he lost one match that he had a great performance, and he had another match, great performance in that one too, and he won that one, and he won it on his own. So I have to give a clap for that. A lot of really good stuff happened on tonight's show, and I'd say all around it was a success in my eyes. So Night of Champions, I'll give you a thumbs up. What are your overall thoughts on Night of Champions?
I don't know. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. I didn't really care for it. But I don't have any major complaints. I just have a bunch of little complaints. And there were some nice moments. I did like Owens winning the title. I liked the thing with Jericho, the bit at the end. I guess the Rollins stuff was good. I'm not sure. I don't really have anything that I'm really too ecstatic about this. I'm just kind of feeling like, well, the next 4 weeks, I'm not really looking forward to it. I guess I'm kind of interested in the Brock Taker thing, but then I'm wondering why they didn't wait for tomorrow. Why do they have to announce that in a random promo on the network? I don't know, but
yep. A good night with some some moments that weren't great, but some moments that were good too. It was a mixed bag for me, but as far as Lesnar and Taker taking place at Hell in a Cell, I am all for it because I didn't think they needed to wait till Mania. I said before I wanted to see it take place on another pay-per-view beforehand because it would make way more sense to have a rematch before then, and I'm really glad that they are having it at Hell in a Cell, and it's a Hell in a Cell match. That totally makes sense for Undertaker, which is cool. Another point I did think of, though, was I feel like Undertaker's age kind of almost has played a little bit of a role into their feud because not only was he made to look like vulnerable for the first time ever at WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar, but then he had to win in a weird fashion at SummerSlam. So now that I think about it, his age almost did play somewhat of a role.
A little bit, yes, but not nearly the same extent because...
Right.
See, that was different.
Undertaker still was able to, he was able to take Lesnar to the limit in both matches, even though the first one he had a concussion in.
Sure, but I'm just saying, again, the age was actually there. It was something that I was thinking about, actually, as time went on. I'm like, well, they kind of did play it as, like, the first time Undertaker, he had suffered a concussion and in that match. I know that was legit. I'm not, saying that was part of the story, but since it did happen, you can expound upon that as, like, well, Undertaker's at a point in his career where that would be a more likely thing to happen, etc. But... either way, I'm not trying to go off on some tangent to get back to that, but it was something I had thought of. But this was a good event for me as well. I really liked Seth Rollins' performance. It's a shame Cena won the U.S. belt cleanly only because I'm afraid that they're not going to have him put somebody over clean. That's just my opinion. But I will say that the match was great, so there's a side of me that was like... fuck, yeah, this is great. And also the fact that we had a clean finish there. And no fuckery in the second match either. He beat Sting cleanly, which is good. And, again, Owens winning the IC title was nice. I didn't like the DQ finish for the tag title match. The Divas title match was underwhelming in certain ways. So, there, again, some ups and downs tonight. But overall, I'd say Night of Champions was more positive than negative overall.
Okay, I want to go to some tweets from the folks tonight. We got Justin on Twitter saying, Night of Champions was very intriguing with a couple of shocking moments. Decent pay-per-view overall. We have Rick, who is also a columnist for PWFempire.com. Speaking on the main event, good match. Sting pulled out some nice moves, and Rollins bumped all over the place for him. As for the finish, there is some appeal for me, at least, to Kane versus Rollins. Gives Kane one more big run. I'm glad that Rollins pinned Sting on his own. Still think Sting as a part-time champion during the fall was the right move, though. So that's kind of interesting. They're actually wanting to see Sting win the championship, but that didn't happen. Who knows if he's actually going to get another shot in that, but I guess that's something that we have to look forward to in the future, which you probably don't want to hold your breath on that one, but something that you really can look forward to in the future that is happening tomorrow night on PWFempire.com. We are going to have a brand new team debuting their Monday Night Raw post-show review. The PWTR guys, they switched up their formats, also switched the night in which they do the show. They're going to be doing their shows on Saturday, but we're going to have a new Raw review show in place on PWFempire.com. You guys look forward to that. And we'll be introducing those guys to you tomorrow. So that's something to look forward to. Also, we'll be back here on PWFempire.com and YouTube.com/PWFempire Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, before we end this show, I got to find out, okay, whose birthday is it? Come on now. Who's Steven?
What are you talking about? I don't understand this joke.
What are you talking about a joke? There is no joke.
It's legitimately not my birthday. Whether it's a joke, serious, whatever, legitimately, my birthday is in 2 months from now, so...
This is very weird.
Just clearing the air.
I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. Okay. Well,
who the fuck's birthday was it?
Or can you explain this? Is this a setup for a pun? I don't...
What are you talking about? Why would I use a birthday as a pun?
I don't know, because you have
weird.
You have your joke voice on. That's why I'm suspicious.
I have a joke voice? I didn't know this.
I think so, yeah.
That little sarcastic, I don't know what you're talking about type of voice. I think Jay knows what we're talking about, but because he's in that voice, he's not going to admit it, because that would ruin the concealment. It would ruin it.
Okay. You know what? We could be here all night, guys. I think it's about time we go ahead and close this out. Thank you guys for tuning in to PWF Empire Live. Jay, Evan, and Steven will catch you on the flip side. Peace out.